Good morning. Sometimes I have to think, and I'm not always the best at talking, especially lately. And I just want you all to know that I had to come out this morning because I've been having trouble sleeping. And there's a hair stuck in my tripod I'm trying to pull out. But good morning. It's hard for me to say because I know that this platform and the way that I am perceived is always as a really happy person and really full of life and joy. And sometimes the truth of the matter is I'm just as sad and lonely as the rest of us. And in those moments it can feel really isolating. There's an immense evil in the world. And I don't think that it's because of anything more than the fact that we created so many rules for ourselves that we've lost our humanity. I was watching a video, which I'll put a link below, about how in China they have these ghost cities that they're building these giant luxury flat apartment buildings full of apartments that are selling for thousands of times more than the average Chinese laborer can afford. And the article I was watching said that there were 16 million apartments unfilled. Now I know China has a billion people living in it, so maybe 16 million isn't that much, but the reason that they do this is because they're in a game. They're in this giant numbers game of GDP against other major nations like the United States and other and it's all for show, so that they can put numbers on a page and say, look how great we are. It's pride. We all have our own personal pride that gets in the way of the things that we want or need. And sometimes you can ruin the best thing that you might have. And the great evil in the world that I see it's the fact that we still hold on to this system whereby the weak are trampled on and the strong are made to be seen as just and fair because they're taking what's theirs. And that might be all well and good when we lived in an era where everyone was a hunter-gatherer, or where there was some virgin territory left to conquer and explore. But there is none of that left. If you can't afford to participate in the system, to go get a job, to make money, to pay your bills, to keep the lights on, where are you supposed to go? In the 1850s, if you had some kind of issue like that, you could go out into the middle of the country and just make a homestead, and you knew how to farm because that's something you knew how to do. And our generation doesn't have that. Our fathers weren't taught, and then we, of course, weren't taught. And so this tremendous evil that's out there is telling us that our value is based on how much of this imaginary concept called money that we can generate. There are computers that are running complex mathematical equations, doing gigaflops worth of processing just to discover a fake digital currency that has no intrinsic value and no one really understands exactly how it works. Someone invented it, but only that person really understands it. And so people are building computers to mine these bitcoins, which aren't real, They're putting the greatest minds in our colleges are going into finance to feed this beast. And the rest of us, we just want to work and feed our families and come home to a warm apartment. And we're seen as being entitled because we think that in a time of unparalleled technological prosperity and success, that we can provide that for everyone. And it really wouldn't be that hard. I don't know how we could do this. All I know is that the people who exist today would have to make a conscious shift and say, and lose the feelings of jealousy and greed that limit the universe's or God's or whatever you want to call it unlimited ability to provide for us. And the common saying is we have enough for everyone's need but not for everyone's greed. And I always liked that because I have everything I need. I aspire to more because I've been told I should. But when I really reflect on it, I don't need it. I don't need anything more. This isn't costing me a dime, and this is one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a long time. So keep that in mind. And keep that in mind the next time some pundit on MSNBC or Fox News tells you what to believe about something having to do with a system that you don't believe in. I don't know if I'm going to have the courage to actually edit and post this video, truth be told, because I know YouTube is often seen as a place where people can talk about the pop culture and the gossip, but I know my fans are really smart people, and I know that you'll think about it, at least, and you'll realize that maybe there are some things that we don't have to do anymore. And I can't change the world by myself, and I'm not going to try, which is really sad. I woke up this morning and I felt more alone than I have in a long time. I'm having trouble with my partner of 4 years, and I love him so much. And you're the only people I have to talk to because he was my best friend. And we're talking and we're working things out as best we can, but I have this deep fear that it's never going to be the way that I want it to be. And that in spite of how much I love him, that I have to leave for my own sanity and for his sanity and so that I can continue to progress. I learned so much from you, Will, and I don't want to ever lose you, but maybe I already have, and I know that a lot of it was my fault. And a lot of it was our fault, and a lot of it was your fault. But we both still love each other. And no matter what happens, I hope that you'll know that I left because I know I'm not going to be happy in the long run with the way things are, and I can't put myself or you through that. This is going to be the longest, most boring video ever made. I don't know what to do with this. I hope it's pretty. I haven't been watching. I've been talking to you guys. when I did my seven random facts about me, I was really pleased that so many of you commented and shared some things about you. I never thought of myself as socially awkward or inept. But here I am alone in a park talking to a camera, so. And I'm afraid if I post this, my coworkers will see it, or someone who respects me will see it and see how weak I am. See how easily shattered I can be. I'm really glad I left the apartment this morning, because I've actually never done this before, and I love this park. It's beautiful. I love this city, and it's no surprise. Los Angeles is a city for lonely people. And for isolated people. Because you can remain alone. And it's okay. And I don't know that I like that. But it's what I need right now. I'm afraid to stop the camera and watch this. It's going to be long and probably pretty boring. I guess what I'm saying is that the world is very uncertain. And there's a lot of evil in it. But I think one of the greatest disservices that Christianity has done to mankind is to teach us that our inherent nature is evil. Because it makes us fight against each other because we assume that someone else is not as close to God as we are, and therefore they're out to get us, and therefore they can't be trusted or respected. But what if we taught instead that man was inherently good, and that it was the rules that he made and the lack of compassion and the lack of forgiveness and all those things that were taught in so many faiths because we don't have those things. Sometimes I feel like I'm about to break through. And then you have that fog that comes in and it just takes everything that you had in your mind away, and then you got to start over. But you can't give up, because that's where the ideals are. You can't be afraid of not understanding. I think we've raised a generation that's afraid to not know and afraid to make mistakes. I'm one of them. I guess what I was trying to say is that if we taught that humanity was good, if we taught that by nature we were good and that the systems we created are what are making us bad. I think we could have a lot more success. Because imagine instead giving people the benefit of the doubt and forgiving. But imagine if everyone knew that that's how they would be treated. Not like someone would treat them differently. Have you ever been accused of something you didn't do? And you know that feeling where the person keeps at it, and you know that deep in your heart you know that you didn't do it, or that the intention that they are projecting onto it wasn't there, but they've got it set in their minds, and all you want to say is, well, if you've already made up your mind that that's how it is, then why didn't I just do it? I could have done something evil and I'd be being treated the same way. And it's because people do lie. And people do take advantage of one another. But I don't think that's the rule. I think that, and maybe this is radical to say, but I'd like to believe that we can soon be in a post-capitalist society. And I hope it doesn't require some kind of revolution, because I don't want that. I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover and I'm a peacekeeper. But I can't stand to see that we have enough. We have record unemployment, and yet there's never been a time where more work needs to be done. There's garbage that needs to be cleaned up. There's graffiti to be removed. There are sidewalks to be repaved. Streets, potholes to be filled in. Homes to build. Homes to build for people who need them. We have farms that can grow enough food. Our country is abundant. The world is abundant. But we feel entitled that if we can get more, we should. And that's a product of consumerism and marketing, and that's just a fact. People lived for such a long time without that influence telling you that you need something more. You'll be happy when you get this. I'm happy. I'm not completely happy. No, nobody really is, I don't think. I mean, maybe there are some people. But I have good days. I feel like I'm gonna have a good day because I was able to talk. It's scary to invest yourself in another person because you rely on them. And you rely on their trust. And every little mistake or breaching that trust becomes harder and harder to forgive and harder to patch. And nobody did anything wrong in our relationship. Nobody was malicious. We were just blinded by our own pride and by our own ego. But once something is gone, you mourn for it. Something that you loved. I mourn for it. I'd never fallen in love before. And it was wonderful. And the sad part about how wonderful it is that it's gone now. And yet I still remember how wonderful it was. And I want more than anything to try again and invite him back. And it's just not going to happen. Anyway, I've talked for 20 minutes. Hopefully I've edited it down some and taken out some of the more overwhelming sad parts. I wish I could be this open and not be afraid of judgment. And that's why the internet isn't quite authentic, as much as we'd like to believe that we're sharing our lives with people as YouTubers. As much as we'd like to believe that we're sharing our lives as YouTubers, we're not. We're only sharing the good parts. Because we're afraid of being seen as deficient. We're not good enough for not being perfect. I'm not perfect. Far from it. I get really sad. I'm not depressed. I don't need antidepressants. I just get really sad. I'm a very emotional person. And that's what gives me the passion to feel so excited about the world at the same token. So I wouldn't change it. The world's waking up around me. The helicopters are starting to fly. People are getting into their cars. I should probably get home. But it is beautiful, right? See you next time.